Here we go. I think the most exciting thing about this, Jen, is you're actually doing this while traveling. So you're not at home.
No, I'm not at home, but this also isn't my Instant Pot. This is their Instant Pot. Almost everybody has an Instant Pot.
It's like, all right. What made you pick this particular recipe? I mean, I've had requests for mac and cheese from people who live in other countries because it's not something that people really tend to make outside of the US. And so, you know, if we can talk about the boxed ones, and then we can talk a little bit about how to make it, maybe not from a box, but
they sell it here.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't
know how to make
it. I don't eat it usually. No, I think I know how to make it, but I don't eat it usually because my grandfather and my mother has problems with eating things with a lot of carbohydrates.
Okay. Well, Jen's going to give us all kinds of tips on how to make it. So, all right, Jen, you're on the spot. Well, I'm trying to think of the last time I bought boxed macaroni and cheese. Besides the really cheap stuff, they just have the cheap stuff around with the artificial orange powder in it. Just as an emergency, back from when I was, you know, college aged. Got nostalgia.
So the orange powder is not actually cheese. It is merely yellow dyed salt.
Really?
That is why you have to add your milk and your butter later. It is a little bit of salt and then a little bit of flour. And for those of you who are used to cooking, you know how to make a roux.
I need to grab butter.
You need your butter, you need your flour, you mix them together, then you add your cheese granules and your milk, and then it creates this creamy cheese sauce from this roux. Well, they're giving you half the roux in the box. In fact, that is one of the things that I do when I work with children is I introduce them to the concept of a roux, which is R-O-U-X, for those who do not speak French natively, by using boxed macaroni and cheese, because around here, almost all children have grown up on boxed macaroni and cheese. And so then a roux is not that hard of a concept. You use a roux to make gravy, you use a roux to make cheese sauce, you use a roux to make nacho cheese sauce, which is—
I remember screwing up, getting that powder and trying to make the lumps not go. That was always a thing as a kid.
You have to cook it like a roux, unless you're doing it in the Instant Pot. So there's a way to do it in here where the lumps will go away. It'll all cook out really well, but it's not the standard roux order, and you don't need to dirty any additional dishes. So the reason I decided to Instant Pot boxed macaroni and cheese, and I will be honest, I discovered after I did all the labor that other people had done the same labor and come up with the same answers that I came up with, is because I am usually the only adult on duty around a bunch of children with no impulse control. And so if I am sitting there boiling things on the stove and they have a gas stove, you know, we've got an open flame, we've got scalding hot water, and then somebody is in another room, you know, using lipstick to draw on the walls, or, you know, suddenly stabbing her sister with a pencil, and now there's help calls, you know, and I have to go to that. And now I'm leaving a safety hazard in the other room. So I said there has to be a safer way. And this ended up being the safer way. The upside of this is because it can cook unattended, you can do other things. So you don't have children or whatever, take a shower, you know, give yourself a pedicure, read a book, take some downtime, engage in deep rest, right? There's no real reason we have to be actively cooking a convenience product like a boxed macaroni and cheese. Also,
so why is it so expensive at the restaurants? Like if you get a little bowl of macaroni and cheese, it's like $5 or $6 for like a teeny.
Because they went ahead and made a roux for their cheese sauce and they grated that cheddar themselves because they're suckers. No, because they have sous chefs and they can pay the sous chefs practically nothing to grate the cheese. The real answer is because you'll pay for it. Because I have done an Instant Pot macaroni and cheese from like elbow macaroni and proper cheddar, and I've got all sorts of tips and tricks for that. If you go to my cooking website, which is the infamousj.livejournal.com, and then you can do /tag/food, and you'll get to see all of my low mental effort or low executive function recipes, which, let's face it, we've got a lot of mental load. If we can lower some of it, this is good. And it doesn't sacrifice any of the flavors. So I have 2 different categories of boxed macaroni and cheese out here. I have Annie's on one side and all the good stuff on the other. Annie's cooks weird. So that's why it's over here. I brought it to show you. This stuff will not follow the recipe that I am talking about, but I will tell you where the modifications go. This stuff as well. Annie's has a variety of flavors, but it's all this bunny in a circle. Every
I was
single
looking
other
for
macaroni and cheese-
gluten-free. And Annie's had the most variety of it, but I had cooked one before and it turned really mushy. So I was like, let me try a different brand. And so I got
oh yeah, Annie's is mushy.
I got this one, and this one is gluten-free and vegan. I'm not vegan, so I'll probably add cheese and butter to it, but I'm gonna taste it before I add the stuff to see how well it tastes, because a lot of vegan stuff is well done.
So I would like to also bring your attention to the fact that this Instant Pot and I are in the living room. So the thing about using an Instant Pot is you're not confined to the kitchen. So long as you have all of your tools with you, you can.
I've got a portable power system and I've done it while camping.
Yep. Okay, let's get into it. We have a variety of store brand and name brand non-Annie's macaroni and cheeses. I'm going to cook this one for now. It is our local from Lowe's Foods, which is from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And to do this, it's very simple, and we can do a lot of chit-chatting while it's working. You open your Instant Pot. Ooh, or has
Switch the camera over to that one. Now, how can they call it cheese if it's not really a cheese? It's like a cheese product.
there might be some dehydrated cheese in it. This one says it is indeed got dehydrated cheese in, but most of the time, if it's under 50 cents, there's no cheese, because the cheese is the expensive ingredient, as Howard likes to say. So you buy the cheap one and you add the expensive ingredient yourself, because you can do it at less of a markup. So you open your Instant Pot, and then you open your box of macaroni and cheese.
All right, here we go. So I've got a package of noodles
Take
and
out
a cheese
the
packet.
cheese packet, which, as you can see, says cheese on it, because obviously it's made in a factory with lots of different kinds of packets. And this was to help them.
Mine isn't even that quality. It just says lot number, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so now you've got your box of macaroni and cheese.
Oh, this one's liquid in it.
Ooh, so you don't even have to follow half my directions. You should cook it the Annie's way then, and I will tell you what modification to make. So you've got your box of macaroni. You take your box of macaroni, ready? Boom. You just dump it in.
So I don't know if Orr has asked yet, but can we double the recipe?
You can double the recipe. You'll have to double the water.
Thank you.
So you dump your box in. Box of your macaronis are now in the Instant Pot. I know I'm trying to make what is about 2 minutes of work last a very long time for this show, so people feel like they got something when they tuned in. And then you're going to add water. You will add, if you have powdered cheese, you will add 2 cups of water. And if you have Annie's or liquid cheese, you will add 1.25 cups of water. So I have powder, so I'm going to add 2 cups of water. It doesn't have to be terribly precise.
Yeah, so the directions say 8, but you don't want tons and tons of extra water.
No, because when you make it on the stove, you put 8 cups of water in, and then you pour it through the colander, and you pour 6 cups of water out. So 2 cups of water in the Instant Pot, because it is a closed system. So we will end up with no wasted water. 2 cups for powder.
Just enough water to cover the noodles, or?
Nope, 2 cups of water for powder, 1.25 cups for Annie's or liquid cheese. I know, we're usually used to like, do it until it's just barely covered, not in this kind of cooking, because it is a closed system. It does have to be very, very precise, and that is the chemist in me who loves that. I have a background as a bench chemist, an analytical chemist. I absolutely love it. They're not with me yet. You're trying to rush.
You
me
put
up.
too much, it turns very mushy, yeah.
It will not turn mushy. This is the beauty of this.
I catered a 130 meal dinner and made all the spaghetti in the Instapot.
So I'm watching Orr. I cannot see his Instant Pot. I do not know if he's got his water in.
No, yeah, I put the water in.
Okay, put the lid on. And
I didn't put the cheese in. Did we put the
no,
cheese?
the
No.
cheese is not in. The cheese is
All
still
right.
out here hanging with us. Put the lid on and set it into the lock position.
And what I've read online is if you're making pasta in the Instapot, whatever the recipe says, half the time and then subtract 1 minute.
That is true for most pasta. This one, we're gonna do it differently.
All right. It's like,
Howard got it. So we put the lid on, we set it in the lock position. Make sure you take your little venty thingy and put it on seal, not on vent. If you put it on vent, you're gonna have a very bad time and mushy noodles. You don't want mushy noodles, so put it on seal. And then you're going to come over here and do pressure cook. You wanna do pressure cook on high. So for this fancy Instant Pot, it's gonna be, it's showing it, Howard. It's gonna be custom. And then you turn it to high pressure and then you go to 4 minutes.
let's see.
The pressure cook high 4 minutes and turn off, keep warm.
I'm so sorry. Do you mind repeating everything? Did you say to close it or to vent it?
Close it, make it sealed.
Okay. And then it's been a minute since we used this. What do we do?
So you said 4 minutes pressure, go for it.
Pressure cook 4 minutes, high pressure, because you get the choice of high pressure or low pressure. You want
So
high
we
pressure.
start by doing pressure.
Yes, you push pressure. It should say high pressure already.
Says
On mine, I had to hit manual pressure and then had to adjust the time and the pressure, so.
manual, high pressure. Sit 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
I think that's minutes. I don't know. Thank you so much.
And then that's it. Oh, turn off, keep warm. So every pressure cooker or every electronic pressure cooker is different. But every one of them should have a keep warm feature. We want to turn it off. If we keep it on, we get mushy noodles. We don't want mushy noodles. So we want to turn off, keep warm. And then start. And now
I
we can
didn't know
chat.
that to keep warm, that was an option. You could turn off to keep warm.
Yep, you push the keep warm button and it will turn it off. Keep warm is generally on by default. And then you press start. And sorry, guys, there are a bunch of squirrels out playing chase in the backyard.
Now I'm gonna fancy-fy mine up. I'm gonna fry some onions and put on top of mine.
So I have a quick question. My Instapot the front of it looks similar to yours. And all it says is on high pressure and the manual button is lit. Is it gonna do anything? Because we did put 4 on.
Or can you make her so that I can
On
see?
mine, I hit manual pressure and then I had the choice of low or high pressure.
There should be
and-
pressure cook. It's on the bottom of the one like.
Right.
yours.
It is, and it's on high pressure.
And then you
Or
have to
make her
set
big.
the
I cannot
time
see.
for 4 minutes.
Or I cannot see her.
Oh, okay.
There's a plus and minus button to add time and subtract time.
Lulu, I'm gonna add you as a spotlight here for a second so she can look at it. Oh, I think you have the same one I have.
Come
Like,
on.
can you get closer? Yeah, I mean, it's on.
Yep, yours is already going. It's cooking.
Do I have to put, oh, so it is cooking.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's it.
that's it.
Yeah, it turns to on. With the one that you have, Lulu, it will turn to on within 30 seconds of nobody pushing any buttons, once you put the settings in.
Okay, so the 4 minutes isn't gonna pop up.
It will, and it'll start counting up after
It'll
it gets to
start counting
pressure, after it
down.
gets to pressure.
once it gets to pressure. But the only time you really see that number is when you first put it in.
Okay. Yeah. we do.
Otherwise, it assumes that you've walked away. So why is it going to give you information that you've walked away from?
So one question, I just dumped the water in. Was I supposed to stir it?
Nope.
Okay.
This is, like I said, this is very low mental load cooking.
And I got the Annie's kind of by accident, not thoroughly reading. So it's still going to taste okay, right?
Yes, you may wish to grab, I think we found Tony Kashir's or Slap Your Mama is a really good addition to bring some flavor to that Annie's. If you happen to have one of those like Cajun seasoning mixes lying around your house.
I don't know. I'll ask my son-in-law.
Or-
They're the ones with the Instapot.
Or what's the other thing that's in it? What kind of
Paprika.
chili?
Paprika.
No, paprika has no flavor. It's just red.
So I have a ton of onions that need to be used up. And so I'm gonna fry up.
Not coriander. Coriander is cilantro seeds.
I'm gonna fry up, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 onions.
Something or other chili.
Maybe not to use for this, but to just have around.
No, jalapenos or green chili.
So a question in the chat, Gabby says, so basically is yours kind of like Kraft with better quality cheese pack?
And ours is like Kraft, except it is, Howard, why are you messing with the screen?
Sorry.
I can't see now. What Orr has, it's like Kraft, except the cheese pack is entirely plastic. And I'm not kidding. It is a polymer made from oil because it is vegan. So it's Velveeta except plastic. Velveeta,
Yeah, so I
think,
mean,
does
it's,
have a little dairy in it so that it can call itself a cheese product.
yeah, I mean, this
Velveeta is also
particular
better.
one is coconut oil, sunflower oil, and then yeast extract. So it's got like nutritional yeast for the cheese flavor. So, and I grew up eating nutritional yeast cheese, and I really like that flavor.
I like a good nooch.
So,
It is pretty good. Nooch also would bulk out the Annie's and give it some flavor, but I'm still trying to remember what it's.
and I guess, I mean, if you weren't busy, this is the time where you can make different veggies for side or different flavors, because I feel like most mac and cheese doesn't really have much flavor.
So we did find Bragg's. So I'm trying to keep this so the baby can eat it.
Mhm.
And so we're not adding things like salt too much to,
Ooh, then you have picked the wrong thing to cook because boxed mac and cheese is salt.
but I mean, I don't want to add any more salt. So, you know, all the other seasonings he's pulled out. Bragg's, it's just a bunch of
Oh,
herbs.
Bragg's aminos, that'll be good.
No, Bragg's organic sprinkle, 24 herbs and spices seasoning.
I'll say go for it. I just have had the kids test and approve Slap Your Mama and Tony Kashiri's.
Okay.
As long as your mom's not on here, we don't want to hear about you slapping your mama.
So my pot is almost up to pressure. They all come up to pressure differently depending on your altitude and your humidity.
How do you know because yours says so?
There is a little pop-up thing in the
Oh,
very
okay. I see
When
it.
it
Mine's
pops up,
not
it's
moved
at
yet.
pressure. So mine just hit pressure. I don't know how good the camera is, but it
I think
shows.
yours has a better quality, very digital screen.
Yeah, it doesn't cook any better, but it looks prettier.
It's just like,
So it's right now showing that it's at the end of preheating. There's a sensor inside that will detect how long that pressure stays. And if the pressure stays stable, it'll go, okay, we're now at pressure. We can start the countdown.
Cool.
so this one
And then
got
it goes
literally
beep.
picked up
Did you
at
hear
a
the
thrift
beep?
store.
Yep.
You'll hear the beep. So now it goes beep and now it's doing the countdown. I've taught the 3-year-old how to detect the Instant Pot sound. So the first beep, beep is the countdown. So now all the hungry tummies can go, okay, 4 minutes until food, but not really, because then we have to add the cheese powder and make it into sauce. But 4 minutes while we just sit and talk.
But this is because you turned off the keep warm mode. you could literally walk away and come back in 20 minutes, or would it turn all mushy?
It would not turn all mushy. That's why we turned off the keep warm mode. I have walked away, gone and dealt with sibling fights, put away a load of laundry, come back to it 20 minutes later, and then you just add the cheese powder and the butter and you're good.
That right there is gonna save me a bunch, because otherwise, whenever I Instapot pasta, I have to really pay attention and then do a pressure relief as soon as it's done cooking, otherwise it'll turn mushy.
Yeah. So the on behalf of the neurodivergent folks of the world, which is when I first published this recipe, was for Neurodivergent Week of 2022. You know, a lot of people with neurodivergence, especially those who have trouble with time perception, you lose a lot of food to food waste from burning or overcooking. The Instant Pot has been a huge game changer because you can walk away, go do something, go, oh my God, I was making lunch, and come back and your food's still okay.
So mine did a hissing sound and then the thing popped up. And
Perfect. That's
it
exactly
still
how
just
That's-
says on. It hasn't beeped or went to the number
Yeah,
yet.
give it a
Right,
chance.
right,
It'll
right.
start.
It has to sense that it stays at pressure for whatever its internal check is, 15, 20, 30 seconds before it'll start the countdown. Because I don't know if you noticed on the way up to pressure, sometimes it popped up, sometimes it popped down, sometimes it popped up, sometimes it popped down. You know, it has to convince itself, okay, now we're really at pressure, we're really staying there.
Okay. Yeah, it just steam came out of the thing where that little pop-up thing is, and then it popped up and it's stayed up.
Yep.
That's right. That-
Oh, it did the floor.
Add a cup of water to the pressurizing process in an Instant Pot.
Now your
Fred,
floor
Fred, are you
popped up.
super happy? This is Lulu's first time using an Instapot, sounds like.
Yeah,
It is.
Fred,
It is.
all
I
Fred talks
almost,
about is his pressure cooker.
One of the best parts about an Instant Pot, not only can you take it traveling, not only can you cook in the living room, not only can you walk away and get involved in something else, not only can it allow you to focus your attention on the thing that is actually the safety risk rather than adding your cooking and making it a safety risk as well, but you can also run one of these off of a solar panel. The bulk of the current that they draw is in the part of getting up to pressure. Once they're up at pressure, they basically sip power. So if you have a battery, an external battery or a solar panel connected to an external battery, all it's going to draw in its current is going to be at the very front, and then it quickly tails out very low. So there's a
Now
lot.
he uses a ton of energy to get going, but yeah.
Yes, but then it's done. There are a ton of people who van life it and have Instant Pots for that reason, or electronic pressure cookers of any type. But the Instant Pot brand tends to be the most reliable. You know what you're getting, and every single model tends to be equally quality controlled. Whereas the other brands are, and in my travels and homes with other electronic pressure cookers, it's hit or miss.
I mean, that's how I grew up. We would bring something, you know, have heavy like cast iron pots or heavy duty stainless steel pots, and just bring it up to a boil, and then, you know, with the lid on, just shut it off, and, you know, come back an hour later and it's slow cooked, really nice and tasty. So mine
yours
switched
has an
over to the 4
additional-
minutes.
By the way, mine has an additional beep that's telling you we're in the final minute. So I don't know if you can see the
Oh,
countdown.
mine just went to 3 minutes.
Say mine's in the countdown, so I'll be a little bit ahead of you.
usually I set a timer when it starts to, when the timer comes on, I set a timer for 4 minutes, and then it'll start counting in the other direction.
Yes,
Has it?
so I'll show you what happens when it hits 0. It will switch over to L. So we're actually going to take our macaroni and cheese to L10. If you vent it and open it before L10, you're going to have hard noodles. So we don't want mushy noodles. We're not going to have mushy noodles. Now we're concerned about hard noodles. We need to give it an additional 10 minutes of just sort of chilling in the Instant Pot after the heat application is done.
I mean, if you have to do what they call natural release and let the pressure relieve, I find that usually takes longer than it takes to cook.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, this recipe right now is absolutely longer than it would take to cook on a stove. I am not teaching you a quick boxed macaroni and cheese recipe. I'm actually teaching you a slow one, but the benefit is it's a zero attention one.
Yep, I like that.
So
And I
we
would
get-
add, you could take a frozen Cornish game head, throw it in that pot, in like 30 minutes, it'll be cooked. Without doing anything, you just walk away.
So
So
Fred, do
yours-
you usually do the natural release or you release it yourself?
I do whatever the recipe calls for. Like I do
Okay.
brown rice. I think it's brown rice, 22 minutes on high pressure and 10-minute natural release. So after 10 minutes, then I release whatever pressure is left. And that's what I do for brown rice, for an example. So you sort of get a, you know, as you start making recipes, you write down kind of the times, how much is brown rice, how much is white rice, even though if you don't want to do that, the Instant Pot usually just has a button and it says rice.
Yes.
So if you, it depends, usually it's a 1-to-1 ratio rather than 2-to-1, which is what happens when you normally cook rice. But usually
I have
with
a
rice in the
question.
pressure cooker, it's 1-to-1, more or less.
I would like to add that since you lose a quarter of a cup of water to the pressure system, when you do cook rice, 1 cup of rice to 1 cup of water. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, but then add an additional quarter cup of water just to get it up to pressure.
Yeah,
All right.
actually, I do
Do
1
you
and a
guys
quarter
peel a
too.
lot of garlic?
Yeah, I got a quick question about the cooking show.
This was a little trick I came up with where you just put the garlic in here and you just rub it together and it peels it all.
Mm.
Oh, it's beeping.
Yeah, so you said my screen now says L0:01, and you're saying
Perfect. We're going to
that
L10.
L10. Got it. That's all.
L10. L
Now,
means
this is the time I would tell, you know, I would set a timer now for 10 minutes. So you can walk away and come back in 10 minutes and they'll be ready to open.
which would be great if you were a persnickety instant perfect person. But again, we want it to rest for a minimum of 10 minutes. You could walk away for 20, 30, 40 minutes.
But do you let the pressure off first or
As
you
long
just
as you're
let it-
not-
That's why you have to make sure you turn the keep warm button off, otherwise it'll scorch.
Exactly. That is why we turn the keep warm button off, because even a few minutes of the keep warm and you're going to get mushy noodles, and then mushy noodles turn into scorched noodles.
I'm gonna only do it for 5 minutes because I have the gluten-free ones and they turn mushy quicker,
Okay.
I think, but
The beautiful thing about this is we live in a world of experimentation. Go find out. I mean, the worst that can happen is that you'll need to heat it up a little bit, but you can use the
I'm
salt.
just afraid if I wait the whole 10 minutes. Gluten-free noodles turn mushy really quick.
So we are going to do something that's called a combined release. So natural release is when you let it sit after it's done cooking. And this is back from the time of manual pressure cookers. They had natural release and quick release. Quick release is when you pull that vent off so that all the steam can rush out the escape. And then a combination release, there are 2 kinds. The one we're doing gives it 10 minutes of natural release, and then we quick release the rest. And another one is one where you just sort of let some out, stop it, let some out, stop it, let some out, stop it. If you were going to try and speed up the end of your beans, which get really frothy in a pressure cooker, you would want to do that second kind of combined release. Let some air out, stop it, let some air out, stop it. And that tends to keep the froth from clogging up the internals of the pressure cooker. And that be a pressure cooker, whether it be electronic or a stovetop kind. That little tube where the pressure goes out can get clogged by bean froth.
Also, your Instant Pot has a line in there that you should not fill above with liquid.
I
Yeah.
always break that rule. I always overfill pots.
Well, it increases the
not-
risk of clogging the vent.
Yeah, I've had that happen. So I've gotten better at not overfilling it. But in the beginning, you guys know how I am with a regular pot. Always, the pot's never big enough.
But unlike an old-fashioned pressure cooker, this one, if the vent gets clogged up, it's still not going to blow up.
This one, I've had some Instant Pots and some electronic pressure cookers become overpressured to the point where it's even more than the release valve can handle. And I will tell you what happens is steam just starts coming out of the sides of the lid. It locks down in pretty tight, and so it just blows out the sides. It will not shoot the lid off under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made a mistake and the keep warm light clicked on its own.
Turn it
Press
off.
again. You can press it, you can turn it off.
I turned it off, but then I lost it was on L4.
So no, that's a timer.
It'll come back.
4
It'll
minutes.
come back.
Give yourself 6 more minutes.
All right.
Keep warm is still lit.
The keep warm just popped back on again.
Press it. Yeah.
Our keep warm button keeps popping back on.
Interesting. You may just have to hit cancel because essentially it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
you're basically turning it off by hitting cancel, and then now you have to measure the
Cancel
time.
button and just set a kitchen timer for 6 more minutes.
There you go. Exactly.
All things can be solved.
I only have 1 more minute for my 5 minutes, so you can tell me how to. You're just doing a pressure relief, right?
Yes, you just do a full-blown quick release at this point. You've done your combined release with that 5 minutes of waiting for the natural, and now you're just going to open it up. Also, by the way, I'm getting my butter out right now because the only thing we add at this point is butter. You do not need to have milk for this recipe. That's why you added so much water to begin with.
So here I'm gonna do the pressure relief.
Isn't that a satisfying sound?
And most things I cook, I don't like doing the pressure relief because it's a little bit scary. I like let it do it naturally, but it will overcook because it
Yeah.
keeps
Will
cooking in
overcook.
there.
It does keep cooking. Yep.
And my trick is I like to put the Instant Pot underneath some cabinets whose fronts need to be steamed because they've gotten some food splatter on it when I do a release, because it'll shoot up some pretty good steam, and then you can just wipe off the cabinets.
Yeah, I use a wooden spoon to kind of divert it. So if there's something above at a cabinet, you can actually also, I think on Amazon, you can buy a diverter that actually fits on there where it pushes it out to the side.
And the newer ones come with diverters.
Okay, where's
Ah.
my
The
butter?
newer one, and it has a diverter built in. But I would also like to give a plug for your just common tea towel. Just put a tea towel on top. When you
Why have I never thought of that? Like I usually cook this on my kitchen cabinet, and it's spraying on like the curtain.
Yeah,
I mean, on my kitchen table, and so like I set it on the back of the table, and there's the curtain right there, and I'm always like, it's spraying right on there. I never thought of just putting it. Okay, here we go. It quit releasing, and my little poppet valve dropped, so now there's no
and
pressure.
you can open it up.
Turn it,
Yep.
open it up.
Yep, and you
There you
can put
go.
your lid, by the way, into one of the handles.
Oh yeah, I forgot, like this.
also be careful when you open it because it is hot steam. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Just careful. When
And
you
say the
open it.
benefit of being a short person as I am is that I don't have that risk of shooting myself in the face with these things. I'm usually in front of or beside the Instant Pot. I'm very rarely over it.
So this this
Mine
ended
is
up being
done.
too mushy, even that I let it out.
So mine is done, and I'm gonna hit the vent button and let all the steam out.
So even I only did half the time, it still came out too mushy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing about gluten-free is it cooks so much faster.
So for those of you with Instant Pots who don't want to burn down your house or have an electrical fire, make sure you hit that cancel button even after you have even after you've hit end or any of the other things. You're going to want to hit the cancel. If you look in your Instant Pot right now, see if I can pick the camera up and take it over. It's going to be a hot mess of soupy nasty. Let's see if I can take you over to see the hot mess of soupy nasty. It's going to be a hot mess of soupy nasty. That is on purpose. I know
you
it
actually
doesn't.
still have a little liquid.
There's going to be a lot of liquid.
Mine
You
has
need the
none.
liquid. Yes.
Yeah, she's
because-
gonna make the roux.
Yeah, I need it to make my roux, but I told you to put in too little liquid because yours
Oh
is.
yeah, I have the cheese packet.
Yeah, so if you've got the soupy nasty, you now take your stick of butter and slice it in half. And then you put the half a stick of butter into your soupy nasty. The stick of butter will not slice in half. Oh, there it goes. You put your half a stick of butter into the soupy nasty, and then you let it melt the rest of the way. And then we're going to add our powder to it. Let that butter melt. It should melt very quickly on those noodles
And
in that water. You've got the water.
let me see. This is supposed to
Water
be all,
melts quickly if there's
an
not.
all natural package of noodles, but it's still like this weird, bright fluorescent orange.
Food coloring.
I'm just saying, like, even though this is like gluten-free, dairy-free, they still colored it that weird fluorescent orange.
Well, we eat with our eyes, so if you're used to looking orange, then they make it orange.
I will
I remember
remind
one
you,
time I
Daya is, you know, it's edible plastic, and it's, you know, edible oils based plastic, but it is plastic.
I remember making what do you call it? Basically a white roux with white cheddar sauce, and some workers on our farm. My mom invited them to have lunch, and they were like exclaiming how wonderful the gravy was on the pasta.
Yeah, that's what roux is. It's a gravy.
But it was white, you know, they were used to the orange cheese sauce.
So we have, my butter has melted. I now have soupy nasty water noodles and butter. It's great. And now I'm going to open up my cheese packet. And mine is not nearly as neon orange as yours. Mine's just like, you know, Easter yellow. People on Instagram can come join the Zoom. And you just sprinkle some in and then mix it in, sprinkle some in and mix it in.
And sorry, for the Annies, if we're doubling the butter or doubling
Double
our
the butter,
so if a whole full stick?
full stick.
Okay, thanks.
And yes, this is going to be a little fattier than what the recipe calls for because it calls for milk, but fat's good for you. It keeps you fuller longer. That milk is not going to, and the casein in the milk that cooks already exists in your cheese packet. So you don't really need the milk. It's like the old story of when they were doing boxed cake mix. You don't actually need to add anything to the boxed cake mix. It has everything it needs in there except for moisture, except for water. But people didn't feel like they were cooking enough. So nobody bought the boxed cake mix that you just had to add water to. So then they started the part where you have to now add eggs. It does not need the eggs. It contains everything it needs already in it, but they put the eggs on the ingredients list for human psychology.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So if you just sprinkle and stir, you will eventually get a very nice thick cheese sauce inside. It'll be a little creamy, just like my kids like. It's going to be nice and fatty. And that Annie's is going to be very, very creamy. That's part of their shtick. They're even cooked on the stovetop. Their consistency is very wallpaper paste. I prefer a runnier sauce to a creamier one. And there's the last of my sauce. Howard, do you think you can manipulate the camera up here so that the folks on the Zoom can see what my pot of deliciousness looks like?
Absolutely.
Now, I never had much luck of putting the powder directly into the pasta like that without getting much lumps. I think it's like you just have to put like a tablespoon at a time in there.
Yep, you sprinkle it over the top until you coated the top evenly, and then you stir, sprinkle.
That's the way it is with roux too. You don't just throw all the ingredients together. You kind of slowly blend them to avoid lumps.
But as you can see, we have now concluded how to make macaroni and cheese in the Instant Pot. There it is. It's cooked and done.
I remember as a kid, we were each given like our own bowl with a little bit of water in it to mix it to try to help, cook. And I think it was mom just didn't have the patience to do it all herself. So she's just like, here,
Oh gosh, I
you guys
hate
stir some powder.
But yep, there we go. Fully cooked macaroni and cheese. Here. My sous chef is now clearing my cooking space. Highly recommend you get a sous chef. They're the way to go. And I'm going to dish up our meals because we have a child's birthday party to get to. So I'm dishing up our meals in Go containers.
Okay, so I have a quick question. One of our packets has a hole in it and the content is not powdery, it's kind of like caked together.
If it got a little moist, that's okay. You can still put it in. It's just going to require a little bit more vertical chopping love to get those lumps broken up.
Okay.
I have experienced that as well. Remind me sometime when we're not recording and publicly going out into the universe so that I don't get a defamation letter to tell you about all of my issues with Annie's macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait, you're not using Annie's. You're using a different brand. Never
No,
mind.
we are using it.
We're using Annie's only because I
Yeah,
misunderstood.
see that Annie's has such good products. Their cheddar bunnies are amazing.
Well, I quickly read their ingredients list and just saw Annie's mac and cheese, so that's what I zeroed in on. So my fault for not reading more thoroughly.
I mean, you can. But here we are, we're plating it in true, got to get out of here fashion. Got to feed the kids. The kids are baby birding at you. Cheap, 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 cheap. So hungry, so hungry, so hungry. Feed me. Is it done yet? No, this is.
Look, I have my box here, but I don't have an Instant Pot.
There we go. And will my taste tester please come on camera and have a taste?
Why, I will. It's so different from the other
Ladies and
mac and cheese I
gentlemen,
have.
this is the Howard who has been off camera the whole time.
How is it? I mean, really the main advantage of this is you can do it and forget, if you're distracted easily.
Distracted easily for any reason, this will get you fed. Separate cooking from feeding yourself. This is feeding yourself.
So it's just like basically you cook it, and then when you're ready to serve it, you mix the cheese in, the butter in it.
Exactly.
So it's like you're seasoning it right before you serve it.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it. And by the
I
way,
mean, it'll stay warm in the pot even if you turn the warm off for.
correct. Yeah, I have left it in the pot for up to 6 hours and it's still a nice warm meal. Don't ask me what I was doing for
Well, I
6
wouldn't recommend more than 4 because that's the food safety laws, but.
Well, and if you're making like a soup or something like that, then you could leave the keep warm button on because it'll be okay.
There's a lot of recipes where you can leave the keep warm on. It is perfectly fine. I make a chili mac and cheese, and I leave the keep warm on for that because the chili has to slow cook. But this particular one you don't want to because of the low grade noodles they use to make boxed macaroni.
Because they're making a low grade to cook it fast. Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right. Anybody have any final questions? Whoever cooked, stick around afterwards and we'll eat together. Thank you, Jen, very much. And that other guy too, for hanging around in the background.
Your assistant.
I have one last plug while I have your attention. If you have your own Instant Pot and you wish to, tool up for it, a paddle instead of a spoon, especially an angled paddle, is going to be the way to go.
All right. Any final words, Jen? I guess that was it.
Bon appetit.
From the pink chef herself.
I will be back next week helping cook eggs in the Instant Pot. And then if or wants to have me back, I can teach you how to cook a frozen skillet meal in the Instant Pot. 3 times the amount of time that you would otherwise cook it on the stove.